Hello and welcome to this short webinar discussing volunteer retention and ongoing support. My name is Jo Rees and I am one of the ACVVS Community of Practice coordinators. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which this webinar is being recorded, the Kaurna people, and pay my respects to elders past, present and future. What are we aiming for with retention and support? Typically, we would like our ACVVS volunteers to get the most out of their visiting and feel supported in their role, stay in the role, continuing their valued visits with their care recipient. And if they do resign, make sure it is not due to something that could have been avoided by more contact, support, training, clear boundaries for them and the care recipient, or just knowing more about their situation. We're aiming to minimize volunteer turnover. Recruiting and training up another volunteer takes time, as you know, and care recipients do not always want to connect with a different volunteer. So what can we put in place to avoid that? To increase our volunteer retention? In this webinar, we're looking at this through two key umbrella areas: support and engagement, which both go through from onboarding and matching and then continue along with the volunteer's journey with you. Looking at support first, support mechanisms can be both formal and informal. The more formal processes include items that are embedded in your program, such as how you support volunteers with training, knowledge, and systems, so they know who to come to and where to go and locate and reread information already given in the induction and initial training. Because it can be overwhelming and much of it forgotten over time. That information could come in the form of a known process, such as what to do in an emergency situation, or advice sheets on topics such as palliative care for ACVVS volunteers, through mechanisms that you or your organization have set up that are accessible and known to volunteers. Engagement, mentioning that now, is about how we communicate and connect. And we'll talk a bit more about that later in the webinar. Both support and engagement are critical in getting a good start in the program, which can be make or break for volunteers. Early touch points, checking in after the first visits and ensuring the volunteer visitor feels comfortable calling with queries and questions helps to ensure they stay involved. One of our speakers later on has a specific buddy program in place to support volunteers at the beginning of their ACVVS journey. On top of all the other reasons volunteers might leave the program, such as starting a new job, ill health, and so on, visiting older adults receiving aged care services has its challenges and frequently requires resilience from volunteers. Some examples where resilience may be needed is when the program isn't what they expected. They might find it hard to connect, for example. Or their care recipient keeps cancelling due to ill health, mental health issues, and they don't know if it's something to do with them. Their care recipient with dementia tells them they don't want them to see them anymore. The following week, they may love the visit, but the volunteer doesn't know that and becomes very uncertain. Their care recipient constantly pushes the boundaries of what an ACVVS volunteer is there to do, perhaps asking for trips to the shops or lifts to medical appointments. Their care recipient passes away and they experience grief and loss. As coordinators, we know the things that as a volunteer involving organisation, we have traditionally done and continue to do to aid volunteer retention and provide ongoing support and engagement. These include get-togethers, support meetings, to meet with coordinators and other volunteers and exchange ideas, really enjoyed by some who regularly attend. Ongoing pertinent training opportunities, including guidance and advice around sensitive topics such as accidental counselling and palliative care. Recognition with pins, badges, and certificates of recognition, valued and appreciated by some volunteers. We send cards for birthdays and to thank them for their visiting at any time. Phone calls and words of thanks to our volunteers to keep in touch and show they are valued. Being available for calls or coffee when they need extra support, such as when their care recipient passes away, or they have health or other issues going on in their lives. Some volunteer visitors never attend group events and say that all they want to do is their volunteering. But when you reach out to engage with them, you call and speak with them personally and say, what can I do to support or to thank you for what you do? That personal touch is not only valued, but in some cases, may be the one thing that genuinely prevents some from leaving. This is not just my view. The strong consensus from the recent survey on the COP was that personal connection and engagement, being available, phone calls to volunteers, remembering things about them, taking time to offer one-to-one support, the kind of support that works for that individual can make all the difference. Regular check-ins was considered the #1 retention and support strategy for keeping volunteers engaged longer term by 90% of coordinators who responded to this survey. Some great suggestions were made about how to keep volunteers engaged in the recent survey, and the following are representative of many comments.
Taking the time to listen and caring, remembering and acknowledging if they have an event or something important happening in their life. Catching up for a cuppa and a chat every couple of months and recognising their milestones, such as volunteering anniversaries and their birthday. Also having them contribute to our newsletters with recipes, good news stories and even a joke. The personal touch, a phone call, a text message, a coffee date. Regularly thanking them for the work they're doing. Sometimes, out of the blue, I'll send virtual flowers, or I have a Beagle logo that says, "You are awesome," and I send that out just to say thanks and we appreciate your support. A handwritten card for birthdays, condolences if someone passes away, a fridge magnet with something nice on it, remembering their child's name, and asking how they're doing. Feedback, holding their hand in the early days, at every opportunity, thanking my team for volunteering and donating their valuable time. Spending time to have a chat and show interest about their lives beyond volunteering.
This individual approach is becoming more vital as the demographics of who is volunteering changes, and traditional motivations for volunteering are changing with those demographics. But that will be another webinar. Now let's hear from some ACVVS coordinators around the country about how they are reframing what they do to make a difference in the support they provide to their volunteers. So firstly, let's hear from Lewis and Summer at Multicultural Communities Council of SA, who offer a variety of small group activities to their volunteers to really foster connection and engagement.
Hello everyone, my name is Luis.
And my name is Sam.
And we are from MCCSA Multicultural Communities. So this is a short recording in which we would like to share with our network members what we do in terms of volunteer retention and to talk a little bit about those activities that works well for us. So at MCCSA, we love creating opportunities for our volunteers to connect, share ideas, and celebrate their contributions. We organize a variety of activities across the year, and today we would like to share a few of them. Sam, can you please tell us more about it?
Yes, I'm going to concentrate only on four selections. First one is the Adelaide Fringe outing. We take the volunteers every year. We invite them to attend the Fringe. We give them free tickets. Last year, for example, we did one where we attended the Charlie Caper Magical Show, which was a great experience for our volunteers, very interactive, very much part of being an Adelaidean. And the second one, which is a very local one for us, is actually the multicultural dinner. During the National Volunteer Week, we hold the multicultural dinner where every volunteer comes in, they bring a dish from their own country and culture and they talk about it, and then we share those traditions and stories and flavor, and we get a very large turnout of volunteers on this particular event. It's practically learning about culture through sharing food. Another one that we hold is coastal walks. We take out the volunteers for walks by the seashore, usually Glenelg, Henley Beach, Grange, with optional coffee afterwards. This is a great opportunity for volunteers to relax in a nice setting, natural setting, carefree, and for bonding. We also, in that same line, we take volunteers on picnics. We usually take them to a particular natural reserve. This year we chose Mount Lofty Botanical Gardens, where the volunteers came also with snacks and food, and we enjoyed the nature walks, lovely weather, and we shared stories and bonded together. We even offer our own vans to drive them there for those who cannot attend. These
activities aren't just for social, they strengthen our community, celebrate the diversity, and make volunteering a truly enjoyable experience. So we look forward to hear what other organizations are doing in regards to volunteer retention. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lewis and Sam, for that insight into some of the meaningful connection occasions you organise for your volunteer visitors. Secondly, from John at Enfield Baptist Church, who, when no one was turning up to their traditional kind of RSVP specific time coffee mornings, reframed them to suit busy schedules and the difficulty of making a commitment for a very specific time slot.
We found the same thing, that people weren't coming to formal gatherings or wanting that anymore. So I put out a notice, and I do it regularly now, to say I'm going to be at Jibby Cafe between 10 and 12 for a drop-in coffee and cake. Anyone who'd like to meet, come at that time. And the first occasion I had that, there were about 15 people. I had to order 2 tables. So that worked very, very well. And it continues to work, not quite as strong, but I always have 5 to 6 people come over a 2-hour period. And sometimes they're there together and the conversation happens as if it's a group. So that's a little thing. Just put out a note, say coffee and cake free from 10 to 12 or 2 to 8, 2 to 5 or something like that. And it seems to work well, at least from my perspective.
Thanks, John. Now Avril from Melville Cares in WA will explain their buddy system used in residential care to assist new volunteers to settle in well during the first few visits, which can be make or break. This is more of an embedded system approach that we were talking about at the beginning.
I'm Avril from Melville Cares and Western Suburbs Cares in West Australia. In our organisation, we use a buddy system for new volunteer visitors at residential aged care facilities. New visitors are buddied with a current volunteer visitor who visits at the same facility. Usually 2 buddy visits, as a new visitor ensures they're engaged and they're comfortable with their new resident and the surroundings. They can ask questions of the experienced volunteer visitor about the facility and what it was like to be a volunteer visitor there. The extra support at the beginning of their journey can make all the difference to the longevity in their role.
Thanks, Avril. Another idea, at Southern Volunteering, as part of our more individualized personal approach, we've recruited a volunteer who works as part of the coordination team, a retired volunteer manager who regularly calls volunteers to see if they have any issues and has a relaxed chat, which the coordinators can follow up if need be. This gives some extra contact with a lack of time pressure, so the volunteer doesn't feel hurried, but instead feels heard. Thanks for watching this short webinar on ongoing retention and support. We hope it's given you some food for thought or even one idea to try.